Alright, so here we go. We're going to start up the machine now. It brings us right into the Windows Developer Preview. This has already been installed, and this machine actually has a couple of different OSs running. You can see it has Windows 7. It has an Ultimate recovered from the Windows 7 release candidate. That's how long I've had it. There's Ubuntu on here somewhere, but it's completely blown away the grub menu, so I don't exactly know how to get to it at this time. I haven't spent too much time clicking around these options, but you can see, nonetheless, this is better. It brings you to a nice opening here, and so we go ahead and click the developer preview, and pretty quickly right into the lock screen. There's no information, no emails, or notifications for me. That's partially because I haven't entered a lot of information in, and it's also because it's pretty late at night and not a whole lot has actually come in for those accounts. So go ahead, as you can see we're using keyboard and mouse, so you can actually go ahead and grip the screen like you would with your finger. You can click down and drag it up, and that brings you to your logon screen. Now, this is my Windows Live ID. I have no idea where this picture came from. I'm assuming that it pulled it in from Facebook at one time when the accounts were combined. But go ahead and log in, and here you are at the start screen. Now, the last time I logged in, it didn't actually provide me all this information that you're seeing come into these live tiles, but this time it actually is. I've already entered some information into those apps, which I'll show you in a second. As far as moving around these apps, it's frustrating that you can't actually, we're not touching the screen, but you can't actually drag it like you would expect. I'm clicking down the mouse here and nothing's happening. You can't drag it. You actually have to use this bar at the bottom here. I don't know if they plan on fixing that for Windows PCs in the future. You can click across, and you can actually use the scroll bar, but it's really kind of stuttery and not a very good experience. So basic navigation on the front here, if you go down to the bottom left, it does bring up this time, which you can't interact with anything over here. That's just to let you see the time and perhaps your battery level as well. The start menu, these are the same things that you find in apps, which I haven't yet figured out how to access from the apps themselves. So let's go into one of these apps. Let's go into the weather app, which is pretty good for what it is. It's really just a pretty simple HTML5 app. It just displays the weather. Not really a whole lot that you can do interactively. You can click across. You see I've got Alexandria in here as well as New York. If you want to add something, one of the great things about this is instead of swiping from the bottom, all you need to do is just right click pretty much anywhere, and that can bring up that menu at the bottom that you see. So if you want to add a city, it's as simple as doing that. And it brings up suggestions, which is nice. Give it a couple seconds, and it should pop up with the information. So it's not the most useful app, but it is nice. It looks nice, and as you can see, it's feeding that information to the lock screen, or rather the start menu, as they're calling it. So a bunch of the other apps work pretty much the same way. Go into stocks, you're in a full screen environment here. There's very little that you can actually do, but again, the important thing is here you right click and you've got your options down here. And this is one thing I didn't see before, but here's a pinning option. Let's say I want to pin a particular stock to the start screen. If I click that, let's see what happens. Say pin to start, and didn't actually do anything visually. But I'm assuming that if I go back out to the start menu and scroll to the end, there you go. So I could move that around if I wanted to. Not a whole lot going on there. Now, I'm assuming that these are all the applications that I actually have running. I haven't yet figured out how to find sort of a list of applications from this environment, and I get the impression that that's not going to be possible without some other tools, since I don't have all the swiping that they showed off before. These are some of their social apps down here that are really pretty poor in general. I'm assuming they built them just for demo purposes. Here's a basic Twitter app. You can see, I can see my feed. It brings up the scroll bars because I have a mouse available, but there's not a whole lot going on here. If I want to click on a particular tweet, see, now it's taking me into Internet Explorer, which is not where I wanted to go. But it's feeding some information in here to the live tile, but it's not the most useful because you can't actually see who is providing this information, whose tweet this is. So moving on from there, this socialite is basically a Facebook app, and it looks kind of ridiculous on the screen that's this big. It's not terribly full-featured. If I go into my profile, I've got my activity over here, and let's see if I can scroll down a little bit. No, it's not letting me go very far, so not a whole lot happening there. My news feed is, again, limited in the same way that the Twitter app was. Apparently only one person is tweeting here at night, and you've got the users over there for any particular tweet that's selected, but as you can see, it's a little bit confusing to know if I'm, highlighting a particular tweet, or, how I can get to somebody else's information to show up over here. So, go back to the start menu. Again, one thing they showed before that was cool was all the swiping from the left with the apps, and you can actually do that with this. If you swipe over the left, it starts to show up, and all you have to do is left click, and you can bring those apps over here. So I can switch between those apps like they were before. This is not the fastest way of doing this. It's not like you're swiping left or right like you would be in, for instance, Mac OS X Lion. But I can see how this would make more sense on a tablet, which is sort of a theme for a lot of this stuff. I haven't checked out a lot of these apps. They're pretty basic games. For instance, this one right here. You could absolutely see this be on the web somewhere, and they want me to use the letters over here to make a word. So I'm going to type in here TTL, I'll say total, enter. So I get points, and then it knocks down one of the things. It's not that engaging. So move out to the start screen, and you can it does actually pause that app. So if you go back into it, it's sort of in a suspended state, and let's see. I'm having trouble figuring out exactly how to restart the app. There we go. I think I right-clicked there, and you can actually resume the game where you were, as you might expect.